isn't going to be some magical thing that's going to happen and all of a sudden you're going to be great at handling objections. So super excited to be here today, bringing you some content, some training on how to overcome objections. I don't know about you all, but being a new licensed life insurance agent back 8 years ago, I would be red in the face. I would stumble over my words. I would just get sweaty with nerves because I was so afraid of how to respond to one's objections. And it really does come with being seasoned in the industry, growing that confidence in the industry, and just getting yourself out there and putting yourself out there to be able to handle those objections. There isn't going to be some magical thing that's going to happen and all of a sudden you're going to be great at handling objections. This is also not going to show you how to avoid objections altogether and you're going to close every single sale. This is just to help you all out and help you overcome the most common objections. Okay, so the very first objection that you're going to come across, that I know I've come across, and you'll get this a lot usually within your warm market. For some reason, this is very common with your warm market where they tell you, well, I don't need life insurance. So the root cause of this objection is lack of understanding of exactly what the benefits are of life insurance, the different types of life insurance, the pros and cons of each, how can they fit and how can they help you long-term, like strategize legacy planning. So how do you overcome this objection? You have to educate your clients. Education is going to be key. You can't go into any form of conversation with someone about life insurance and not have your educator hat on. You're always going to be in a position of educating your prospect or your potential client. So educate your clients about the financial security and peace of mind that life insurance can provide, particularly for those who have dependents or debts. So here's a little script that I came up with that has helped me out throughout my years in the insurance industry. So this is the question you would ask them. So you typically want to answer an objection with a question, right? So who would pay for your funeral expenses, debts, or even replace your income if you died today? Would you be comfortable calling them right now, that person who's going to be responsible for taking care of all of the financials when you pass away? Would you be comfortable with calling them right now and telling them that if you died today, they would have to fundraise on GoFundMe to beg for money because you don't have life insurance? It's an uncomfortable question to ask your prospect, but it challenges their mindset. It really gets them thinking like, man, you know what? I don't think I want to make that uncomfortable conversation to my wife, my parents, my siblings, my children. I don't want to have that conversation. So yeah, let's talk about getting me at least a little bit of coverage. Objection number 2. I love this one. I can't afford life insurance. These are the same people that you'll see on Facebook or any kind of social media platform. And they just went on vacation. They get Starbucks, twice a day. They're getting their nails done, their hair done, all of that. You afford what you feel is what you value most, right? So a common misconception, however, about life insurance is that it is very expensive. Now, to that point, can it get expensive? Yes, right? And we all know the reasons why it gets expensive, which we'll go over a little bit in the next point. So how do you overcome that? Well, you have to explain the differences between the different types of life insurance. Client is looking for affordability. If you ever get the objection of, I can't afford life insurance, you think right away, okay, we're going to need to quote something like a term life insurance policy for this prospect because anything else is going to be, holy cow, that's too expensive, right? So term life insurance all day long because it is by far going to give them the most affordable options with the best output for the life insurance needs, right? So higher life insurance amounts. Script. Do you think your family can afford for you not to have life insurance? And here's why that script is powerful. Because we never think, when you're talking to your prospects, you think that immediately their mindset is, well, it's going to cost too much. I can't afford it. But they're not thinking of their family at that time. They're thinking out of pocket costs. What is this going to cost me? They're thinking of it as a bill. So you have to reframe their mind, their way of thinking. And by doing that, by asking them questions like this, like they're targeted questions to get them to think, right? You're getting them to think. Do you think your family can afford for you not to have life insurance? That gets them thinking, and then they right away start, you know what? Let's take a look at some numbers. So what you're going to do in this case is you're going to proceed with a quick quote. If you are part of my course, you'll know that in the course itself, I talk about quick mobile quoting tools, right? Quick tools that you can easily quote a client very quickly and get them, just a quick number, right? So I highly recommend, if you have not done so already, that you download a mobile quoting tool. It could be with one of the carriers that you write maybe most of your business with. John Hancock, if you write with John Hancock, Lincoln Financial, you can look at AIG or Corebridge now. So just make sure you have handy a mobile quoting tool that you write a lot of your term life insurance plans with, and have it ready so you can do a quick quote. Simple $100,000 10-year term, lowest death benefit typically, right? And lowest term period of 10 years. And say, hey, this is what it's going to look like if you secured $100,000 today for a simple 10-year plan. That's it, right? Very simple. And objection number 3, I already have life insurance through work. This is probably my most favorite one, my favorite objection to overcome. All right. I already have life insurance through work. You know why this is my favorite one? Because I get it all the time. I get it all the time. So the assumption in this case, the reason for this objection is a lot of people who have these comfortable, cushiony, full-time jobs, they have that job security. They have the assumption that coverage is enough. Now, we all know, being in the insurance industry, that typical group term life insurance is going to be just enough to cover maybe 1.5 times one salary. So if they make $50,000 a year, they'll have $50,000 plus, another $25,000 to $50,000. So let's say $100,000, right? So it's usually not going to be enough to cover all of the client's insurable need. In addition to that, they also assume that the coverage is going to be available regardless of employment status or them changing their jobs, which we know that, right? We know that's not true. So how do you overcome this? Well, you need to explain, and you need to learn how to articulate the advantages of having an individually owned life insurance policy, that you have more flexibility with it, you have control over it, between the coverage and the premium amounts and so forth. Now, I'll give you a quick story to add to that. We've had clients that have had life insurance through their jobs. Unfortunately, new administrations come in, they change some rules, they change some benefits, and all of a sudden, health insurance changes, but so does their life insurance. And what I mean by that is now they don't have life insurance coverage. So just because their employer offers it today does not mean that come open enrollment in October, November, that benefit is still going to be available, right? So here's a quick script that you can use. Insurance through your employer is a great benefit. I never knock it, just so you know. I never, criticize anyone for having it. I applaud them for having it and for knowing that they have it and it's important to have, right? And I always recommend my clients get it, because it will be very inexpensive, which it is. You're either getting it for free or it's a very, very, very low cost. But do you intend on working there until you die? And they look at you and they're like, no, I don't plan to be here till I die. Well, if you secure your age and your health now, you can get it for much less and have that peace of mind that when your employment ends and you retire, you have that coverage for life. So you don't have to worry about, am I going to have coverage at 65, right? And you can easily, again, pull out your quoting tool, give them a quick quote, and you can do a cost comparison. Hey, you're 35 years old today. Let's see what $50,000 of permanent coverage is, today. And I'm going to compare it to where if you were to wait to the age of 65, because that kind of triggers, oh, wow, you know what? That's a lot more than I'm going to want to spend when I'm retired on a fixed income at that time. I don't want to wait until I'm 65. And objection number 4, I'm too young to need life insurance. I've got all the time in the world. How many of us were teenagers at one point? I was, right? We thought we were invincible. We can jump off of cars and things like that, jump off the rooftops from garages, and we'd be perfectly fine, right? But at some point in time, things things happen, right? Unfortunately. So the I'm too young to need life insurance is one that I enjoy rebutting, so to speak, right? In a rebuttal. So here's the assumption. The assumption is that life insurance is for old people. Because when you think of it, I'll be honest with you, when I was young, I assumed that life insurance was for old people. I was like, oh, I don't need that. That's like when you're going to die, right? We all think that at some point, right? So how do you overcome it? You have to highlight. This is where education comes in, right? This is where you put your educator hat on and all you're doing is adding value to your prospective client. You have to highlight the benefits of starting a life insurance policy early, such as locking in the lower premiums, younger, healthier, protecting against unexpected events that could impact the client's ability to get coverage later on in life. We all know that we're all one intersection, one doctor's visit away from our life changing forever and potentially becoming uninsurable or it costing so much significantly more than it would had I just gotten it yesterday, right? So a quick script or a simple script. When do you think it's easier and cheaper to get life insurance? When you're young and healthy or when you're older and have health issues? And again, you take out your mobile quoting tool and you quote them based on their age and tobacco status. Now, this is just a start. This isn't I'm going to close them right now. Can you potentially close someone from this objection handling training? Yeah, you can, a script, if they're open to it, you know what? You're absolutely right. Hey, you're in luck that day. They're ready to close today, right? But you're not always going to have that. It may be a series of follow-ups after you get them interested and like, you know what? You're right. When you get them to agree with you and it makes sense to them, then, you can proceed with submitting the application. So this is one particular script. The other script I use one, it's not on here right now. It'll be in the training that I put in the course itself. I'm going to re-record this and put it in the course with additional objections, is the car insurance one. I give a car insurance example, and I heard this many years ago and I still use it today, and it is a genius script to use, which is, let me ask you a question. If you have 5 car accidents within a 12-month, 18-month span, what do you think is going to happen to your car insurance? And the client will typically respond with, well, my premium is going to go up. I'm going to pay a lot more. Okay, awesome. Why do you think that is? And they're going to answer the way they answer. And I just simply add on to it and say, well, the reason why is because you're now a risk to the insurance company. Because the more accidents you get into, whether you're at fault or not, the more claims they have to pay out. You're just a general risk. And at some point in time, it's either going to be too expensive for you to afford, where you have to downgrade the quality of coverage you have to that of a Magnum insurance, Navy, the general insurance, right? And that's the reason why, because insurance is based on risk. And that's it. Usually they're like, you know what? You're absolutely right. Let's do this. Okay. So hope this was helpful. As I mentioned earlier, I am going to be putting this specific training in the course. So you guys can, those of you who are enrolled in the course can easily refer to it. It'll be in greater detail, more scripts to help you overcome these objections.